Shalom, sisters, and welcome back to another episode of Crowned and Covered. So, today we're going to talk about something that's probably going to upset some people, but I think it needs to be talked about, and that is the notion that men should protect all women because that is a myth. So, we've heard this idea that men are supposed to protect women simply because they're women. It doesn't matter whether he knows her, it doesn't matter whether she's his wife, it doesn't matter if she's his daughter, it doesn't matter if she's under his authority and protection. He's a man, she's a woman, so if something happens, he's supposed to jump in and protect her. And my question is, according to what? Because I don't believe that a man has the same responsibility towards every woman walking down the street that he has towards the women of his household. And as a wife, I'm going to just say something. Um, I don't want my husband risking his life or his freedom unnecessarily for some random woman that he doesn't know. I'm sorry, I just don't. Because while everybody else is saying, he did a thing, he protected a woman, I was at home waiting for my husband to come back. If he gets seriously hurt, who has to live with that? His house. If he, God forbid, got killed, who lost a husband? I did. If he gets arrested because he jumped into somebody else's situation and went left, who has to deal with that? His family. That woman may go home and continue living her life. Meanwhile, my husband doesn't make it back home to me. So, no, I don't think we should casually tell men that masculinity means that they have to physically intervene in every dangerous situation involving a woman. Now, I'm not saying that if you see a woman lying injured on the side of the road, you know, you say, well, she's not my wife. You know, we're talking about putting yourself in danger. Um, so he can call 911, he can get security, but that's different from saying you're a man, therefore you owe every woman your body, your safety, and potentially your life. I don't agree with that. And sisters, here's the part I really want to get into. We want men to have responsibility without authority. That I think this conversation gets kind of backwards. A woman can say, "You can't tell me what to do, and you can't tell me where to go, and you can tell me who I can have around me. You can't tell me what to wear. You can't tell me when to come home. You don't control me." Okay, but then it just shows where are the men? Men are supposed to protect women. Wait a minute. You just told a man that he has no authority concerning you, but now he's responsible for protecting you from the consequences of situations that he had absolutely no authority to prevent. I mean, how does that work? You don't want his authority, but you want his protection. You don't want his rules, but you want his risk. You don't want him telling you no, but when something goes wrong, he's supposed to himself between you and danger. Sisters, responsibility and authority, they go together. They go hand in hand. And that's especially true in marriage. If I'm expecting my husband to protect me, then I also have to understand that sometimes protection is going to sound like no. Sometimes protection is don't go there. Don't be around those people. I don't want you coming home that late. Stay over here. Don't get involved in it. Leave that alone. And if every time your husband gives you an instruction designed to keep you out of a situation, you say, "Oh, you're controlling," then do you want protection to look like? Do you think protection only starts after someone kicks the door in? Nah. Protection, it starts long before there's any kind of physical danger. Sometimes the best protection is, making sure that your wife doesn't get into a dangerous situation in the first place. And to do that, sis, a husband needs control over the conditions he's responsible for protecting. Now, I know that that word control makes people nervous because we have been taught that any man having control over anything concerning a woman is about automatically bad. You know, um, but let's think about this logically. If you're responsible for something, you need authority over it. If a man says, "I don't want my wife going there because I don't think it's safe," but his wife says, "You don't control me, I'm going anyway," and then she goes, and then something happens, and now everybody expects to run into danger to rescue her. How is that reasonable? You rejected the instruction that could have kept you safe, but you still expect him to bear the consequences of protecting you after the danger arrives, that's backwards. And this is why I think that some women want the benefits of male authority without actually being under male authority. They want provision, they want protection, they want a man to stand up for them, they want him to defend them, they want him, to even risk his life if necessary. But they don't part where the man says, because I'm responsible for you, there are certain things I'm not going to allow. You can't separate those things. Now, let's think outside of marriage. Why would a man have the same responsibility towards a random woman who has never submitted herself to him in any way? Think about it. She doesn't know him. He doesn't know her. If he walked up and said, don't go into that place, is dangerous, she might tell him, mind your business. Okay. But if she ignores him, goes inside, and somebody, starts fighting her or whatever, see, that same woman, that same man is supposed to risk himself getting shot, killed, whatever, because quote unquote men protect women. Nope. Men should use wisdom. And as wives, I think we should want our husbands to use wisdom. I don't want my husband proving his masculinity to strangers at the expense of his own household. His first responsibility is to make it back home. And I'm not ashamed to say that. My husband has people who depend on him. He has responsibilities. He has a household. So if he sees two strangers fighting in a parking lot, I don't want him running over there throwing punches because one of them happens to be a I don't want, somebody else's dangerous situation to possibly to our face tragedy. And so we also need to stop shaming men into dangerous behavior. Like you're not a real, you don't step in, or a real man would protect her. Men are supposed to protect men. And that's easy to say when it's somebody else's husband. Would you want him doing it? That's my question. Suppose there's an armed man attacking a woman that your husband has never even met. Are you volunteering your husband's life? Are you volunteering the possibility of raising your children without him? Are you volunteering, sit beside him in a hospital? Are you volunteering the money for an attorney if the situation becomes, legally complicated? Are you willing to lose your household's income, his income? Because it's very easy to spend someone else's husband's life in the name of chivalry. And I'm not doing that. I don't know about you, but I'm not doing that. And here's one more thing. A man's protection should be the strongest where his responsibility is the strongest. His wife, his children, his household, whoever is a part of his household. Those are the people whose safety he has a particular responsibility to consider. And within that household, there needs to be order. If your husband is responsible for protecting you, sis, then listen to, when he's trying to protect you before something happens. Don't make him fight you first and then have to fight the danger second. If he sees something you don't see, listen. If he says leave, leave. If he says don't go, don't go. If he says in the car, then stay in the car. This isn't to prove you don't control me. Because yes, in a marriage where a man, he has the responsibility for the safety of his household, he needs the authority to make safety decisions. And sometimes, sis, making your husband's job harder because you don't want to follow instruction, there's danger and you're standing there arguing. But why? No, sis. No, move. You could talk about it later. If you're just trying to get out of a dangerous situation, that's not the time to have a committee meeting. And I think that that's part of submission that we don't talk about enough. We like protection feels good. We like, my husband makes me feel safe. Okay. But sometimes safety requires obedience. Sometimes protection requires restriction. Sometimes your husband sees risk and makes a decision you might not have made for yourself. But that's part of what it means somebody else to responsibility for your safety. And I think women need to ask ourselves a serious question. Do we actually want male protection, or do we only want men to rescue us after we've rejected, his authority? Because those aren't the same thing. And let me just bring it back to the title real quick, which is Protect All Women is Myth. I'm challenging the idea that man owes every woman potentially life-threatening physical protection simply because she's a female. I don't believe he does. But within a marriage, I expect my husband to carry the responsibility of protecting me, then I also have to respect the authority that allows him to do that effectively. I can't tell him, you don't have no control over me, and then turn around and demand, but you're responsible for keeping me safe. That sounds stupid. So responsibility requires authority. Protection requires cooperation, sis. And a man's first responsibility should not be proven, you know, to the world that he's willing to die for any random woman. He has a household, that he needs to make it home to. So I hope this helped, bring some enlightenment to us as sisters. I hope you did get something out of this short lesson, sis. Um, listen to your husband. Listen to him um, when he's trying to keep you safe. And don't expect your husband to protect random women. That is just not it's not logical. It's not smart, So all right, thank you for joining Crowd and Cover today, and I will see you in the next video.